same goes for Devin Vassell, especially, we knew that Rudy Gay was kind of his mentor this past year when he was a rookie. He really looks up to Rudy. And it shows because he's shown me that he has a lot more in his game than just sitting in the corner and knocking down threes. He's like to get into that elbow area, pull up jumpers, turnaround jumpers. He's able to score in the mid range at a pretty efficient clip, as well as from three. And he's got a lot more athleticism than I think a lot of us were giving him credit for. And we all know what he's capable of as a defender. But I'm excited for him, more so based on what I've seen from him as a leader. He seems to be really pulling these young guys together and saying, this is Trey and I's chance to lead a young team and try and get some wins here in Summer League.
Absolutely. I got to just say ditto to everything you said, but just to give my thoughts on both of those guys that you talked about. When it comes to Devin, although he didn't play too much because he did get a little injury, and It's like, we're not going to risk him getting further hurt by forcing him to play in really a meaningless. I mean, it's a league about development, and he's going into his second year, so it doesn't really matter that much. But when it comes to Devin Vassell, we saw him have the opportunity to go deep in his bag. Like you said, we expected him as kind of a better version of Danny Green, was maybe kind of what we were envisioning after this year. Maybe there's some potential, you never know just because he's so young, but after this season, it's like maybe, a Danny Green who can do a little bit more and, maybe a little bit isn't as hot and cold as a shooter. But from what we saw here in the Summer League, we're seeing that his development is much more than that. And there was a lot of that he showed at Florida State. But, sometimes, we don't always go back and watch, first year Florida State games or just something like that. Sometimes Spurs fans like myself, really, I watch college basketball, but I'm definitely more, I don't really learn about the guys that are drafted onto our roster until they're playing for us, even if that's the Austin Spurs, the Summer League, or the main roster. We'll see what happens. But once again, just going back to Devin, the step back jumpers that he showed, the way he was able to shoot over defenders, I think that his length as a mid-range shooter is something that we might have underestimated. And also, for that matter, as a three-point shooter, if somebody's trying to close out, the wingspan that he has, the way that he's able to be as good of a shooter and as smooth of a shooter as he is with the wingspan that he has, that's something that's not necessarily always common unless you're a player that has that. There are only a few other handful of guys that you can mention. Look at Giannis, has such a great wingspan, has had shooting problems. LeBron, same thing. While definitely has had some good shooting years, still has had shooting issues in, some of those Heat series as well. So for him to have the shooting ability he has right now, obviously he's a lot smaller than Giannis and LeBron. But at the same time, with that wingspan and being able to shoot the way he does is a huge asset for him. And just the way that he was able to create. We didn't get to see that. We were never really going to see that on the Spurs this season regardless, just because of the fact that he's a rookie. The only person who's ever really done that in Spurs history is Tim Duncan or David Robinson, right? Those are the only two guys. So to see him go into his bag a little bit, show off a little bit of the mid-range game, and he also hit some tough contested threes too with a lot of arc. And once again, really, when I'm just thinking about this over in my head, and I know I'm repeating myself, but the ability to be able to shoot over certain defenders, and it's not necessarily because he's taller than them, it's just because of the length and the way that he's so comfortable, and he knows how to get to certain spots to make sure that, he's just far away enough to get the shot up over a defender. And these are things that we didn't see at all last season because obviously Pop wasn't going to allow him to do this in the NBA. So to see this in the Summer League, like you said with Devin Vassell, his ceiling is just a lot higher than you thought it was.